Okay, welcome back to the World Behavior Analysis Day podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Pauly, and I'm here with my co-host, Janet Enriquez. Janet, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in some months now.
I know. Hey, Polly, I'm doing great. It's been quite some time. I know you've been really busy. Things have gotten really crazy. I've been busy. I'm just happy to get back.
Well, I think I saw you in person and we saw each other in Ireland. Did we see each other after
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I don't think I saw you after Dublin, right?
Yeah. No, oh, I guess
That
not. It was
was
Dublin. I wasn't sure if it was
right.
ABAI. It was before there was
Oh,
one
I
in
did
Boston, I
see
think.
you. Or did I miss you at ABAI? I might have
I
missed you
don't
a little
know.
bit. I think you left before I left, but
Well, it's still cool because we're out here living our values and disseminating the science, which, brings us to who we have on our podcast today. And that is the founder of World Behavior Analysis Day Alliance and World Behavior Analysis Day and the president of the World Behavior Analysis Day Alliance, Elizabeth Drago. Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast.
welcome,
Hi, thank you
Elizabeth.
so much. Hello. I'm so happy to be here with you both today. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, we wouldn't be here without you. And I don't know, it was some years ago, I
Absolutely.
remember you reaching out about the World Behavior Analysis Day to me in an email. I don't know what prompted you to do it, but I'm just so grateful to be part of this because it is just a very special thing to have the opportunity to work with such great people to disseminate the science across the world. It's just really amazing.
Yeah, I feel the same, Paulie. I remember that day like it was yesterday with reaching out and trying to gain support for this initiative. And I'm just so fortunate enough that you and also Janet were willing to come on board and help us get to where we are today. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
before we dive into World Behavior Analysis Day, can you just tell the listeners a little bit about your ABA story and how you came into the field?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the field for, it's approaching 21 years, which is like, to say that number surprises me. It's been a long time. I started out working with the adult population in group home settings. And I live in New York on Long Island, and I was placed out being the newbie. They put me into the scenarios where I was dealing with a lot of challenging behavior. I mean, right out of graduate school. And now keep in mind, I was never presented with the opportunity to work with people diagnosed with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and that is where I was placed. So it
Mm,
was a little,
Yeah.
it was a
hello.
very, I was immersed in it, right? And so I had to learn very quickly
You were
that
immersed.
learning
You were
curve.
dropped into the fire.
Yeah, on the job
I was
training, right?
literally transplanted into, I mean, it was like the typical institutional setting in Jamaica, Queens. I was in Canarsie. It was some really interesting things that I've witnessed. I've learned a lot. I was in that field working with the adult population for quite some time. I then moved out to closer to home on Long Island, and then was still working in group home settings, still with the adult population. And a friend of mine who is now a behavior analyst in Florida, she got me on to behavior analysis. I went to school for clinical psychology. I graduated from St. John's with my psychology degree, went on to Columbia for my clinical psychology, my master's. And after I graduated from Columbia, that's when I was immersed into the adult population, working in that context for quite some time. This friend of mine had said, hey, I'm going back to school. She went to Penn State, and she was telling me about behavior analysis. And I'm almost embarrassed at this point to say I wasn't familiar with the science back then. And I said, tell me more about it. And she just was going on and on how much the science just makes sense. You have to look into it. So I did, and I was intrigued. It did just click. It made sense. I
Can I
said, okay, I
pause you
want to
there
learn
though?
more. Yeah,
It's your
sure.
story, man, but don't be embarrassed. None of us knew. That's why we're here today.
Right.
That was part of the root of us. What we're doing is to share this because we should have all known about the science,
True.
right? I think
It's
every
so
one of us
true.
here stumbled across it somehow accidentally. I did. I knew nothing about it. So, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. And as
And
you
now we're
said,
just
this is
trying to
the reason
share the
why we're
love, right?
here.
We're here trying to share
Right.
it.
that's right.
Yes, just educating others. And here we are. I mean, I have my master's degree in clinical psychology and I wasn't aware. So, I mean, that just goes to show you now, this was some years ago, but it just goes to show you how the science is a relatively new one, right? Compared to the, typical sciences, psychology and social work and such. Um, so when I researched behavior analysis, I was intrigued. I was then accepted to Penn State. I finished my coursework in behavior analysis, and then I took my exam and became a BCBA. And since then, I transitioned from the adult population. I really wanted to work in a different demographic. I wanted to work with children. I was always a residential based clinician. Even when, when I was in the group homes, it was their residence. That's where they lived. And so I kind of followed suit with that when I changed working with the children. And I still do to this day, provide home-based services for people ages, right now, my current caseload is age 5 up to 25, believe it or not. Such a, vast age difference in the population I work with and also ability level. And so my 25-year-old client just graduated from college, top of his class in communications, which I brag about him every chance I get.
That's great.
And he's living on his own upstate New York, has a job with the state. I mean, he's phenomenal. And so, yeah, it's been a whirlwind, and the passion grows for me with the science every day. I learn something new and I love sharing it with others. And so that's how I got to where we are today with World Behavior Analysis Day.
Well, you actually made me think about when
Yeah.
going back to what was said before about how we all stumble across it. I remember my earliest experience with the science was it was a psychology teacher that I had, right? Speaking about psychology, and I really liked the guy. He was like fantastic. And in the book, it introduced different theories of learning. And the science was just kind of packed in there. They talked about B.F. Skinner and this thing called behaviorism. And I remember hearing it and I'm like, this stuff sounds bunk. It's not, because it was like in between like these sexy sounding approaches. I'm like, well, this makes more sense to me. And I think about, gosh, if it's that was how it was written, and that's how it appeared and how I received it, and I like dismissed them, like, you're not gonna tell me that there's carrots and whips making me do stuff. That's the way that I understood it, at least how it was exposed to me in that book. So it makes you wonder how many people have had that same experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about that as well, as the misperceptions of the science, and how that's part of our efforts, right? It's to really share what the science is all about, because there's so
Yeah.
many misperceptions.
Exactly. Similar to you, Elizabeth, I think I wasn't really introduced to behavior analysis through school either. My background is in criminal justice and sociology. So I was in social services, and I can't say, Polly, that I really read about it in school either. And so for me, it was my brother. My brother has an autism diagnosis, and they started introducing us to verbal behavior, and I fell in love with verbal behavior. And I just saw his language explode, and I said, what is this? What are they doing? How is this working? And I just couldn't get enough of it. I think
That's
it's
incredible.
It's just incredible how you fall in love with something just that you know nothing about, and it's just because of what it produces in other people, right? That quality of life that it provides, and those connections that perhaps we're starting to see in those individuals that we're working with and we're supporting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great story, Janet, because you have that experience, that up close and personal experience with the science. Aside from being a practitioner, you have your brother to see the progress made and all the wonderful things that happen through behavior analysis. So that's a great story.
Very, very thankful. Yeah, thanks. So
So,
I think
yeah.
that kind of leads us into, you know, a little bit more of your inspiration for taking a step further, right, into introducing the rest of your friends, your family, the world into behavior analysis, into the world of behavior analysis. So tell us more about what was your inspiration for creating an entire day devoted to celebrating the science.
Yeah, so it's a really good story. So fast forward many years from when I started working in the fields, and after I received my BCBA, I became interested in my state chapter, right? So New York State Association for Behavior Analysis. I became very actively involved with the organization, and I soon became the representative at large. So I was a board member eventually. And through the board, I participated in a public policy committee, which at the time it was called the Legislative Committee. And that is truly, and I think about this often because, you know, the questions asked to me, you know, so what really sparked your interest in pursuing this World Day, right? What was it? And so I would think about that often, and it really, I can pinpoint it to exactly when I said, people need to know more about what this science is. And it was through the legislative committee, honestly, because without getting into tremendous detail, with New York State, there was a very large practice restriction on behavior analysis through the licensure laws in New York State. And it restricted us only to working with people diagnosed with autism. And so, as we know, behavior analysis is the science of behavior, right? It's not strictly a treatment for a certain diagnosis or a demographic. It's for anyone who exhibits behavior. And so that was put in place in New York State through just a licensure law with insurance mandates. It's, you know, very convoluted and complex. But that was the state of it. And so the legislator committee was in place to eventually get that practice restriction removed. And I was part of that. And I'm very honored to this day to have been part of that, because fast forward about 7 years later, that effort started in 2014 to remove that restriction. And recently in 2021, it was done with the efforts of many, many amazing people on the legislative committee to this day. Who got that done. And so,
Wow.
but the time when I realized that there needs to be more education is when we would have these meetings with legislators, right? Because we would go to Albany, we would, you know, talk with legislators about why they need to support our bill. And in doing so, they, for a lot of them, really did not know what we did. And so, yeah, I felt like, you don't know what behavior analysis is. How do you not know this? And so, you know, really understanding at that point the depth of what's missing here. And that's just education, educating the masses. And it was just from that point forward, I wanted it to be my mission to disseminate the information. And so being a representative at large on the board of NYSABA, I wanted to create a very unique niche for myself. You know, so what does that mean, representative at large? To me, it meant being an ambassador, in a sense, to the science in my state, which was New York. And how am I going to do that? How am I going to get this information out about the science to the people in my area? And so I kind of went through the back door in a sense of, well, okay, what speaks to people? What does just the everyday typical person, you know, enjoy or engage in, or what piques people's interest? And you know, I started reading about other national days and international days and what we celebrate everything. I mean, there's, you know, National Hot Dog Day, there's National Garden Day, there's so many national, international days. And then I was reading a little bit more about it. There's social work has an entire month where they celebrate their science and their practice. And so I got to thinking when I saw all of that, as far as how these other professions celebrate their science, why do behavior analysts have that? We're amazing people. We're great. We do such great things. Like, people need to know about this. And so that is where it originated from. I had that idea to create, at the time, it was a national day just within the United States. And then we broadened it to an international perspective, because there are no borders to behavior analysis. And so we broadened that to an international scope. And so I pitched the idea to the NISABA board of directors, and they loved it, and they supported it, and they ushered it along. I was encouraged to reach out to colleagues, to have this to be a collaborative effort, right? Because if we want buy-in for participating in the day, why not get more people on board? It just made sense. And so I was in touch with, many organizations, just to name a few. The core organizations that were involved in the original project, there were about 12 of them, just to name a few: New York State ABA, Virginia Association for Behavior Analysis, Brett Denovian Associates, ABAI, Arizona Association for Behavior Analysis, and Association for Behavior Analysis. The list goes on and on and on. And it was just absolutely, it was phenomenal to contact, the leaders of these organizations to say, hey, are you interested in this? And it not even be a question. There was not much convincing. It was like, yes, how are we going to do this? Let's do it. And so it was off to the races at that point.
So I have a question, because we're going to move into learning more about Behavior Analysis Day in a second, but I want to just kind of build up this conflict a little bit, because there's a reason that we had to, we're approaching this and wanting to spread it out. We all talked about, like, we hadn't been exposed to it. What challenges, either you can look at through your own experiences or through maybe a lens of the field, what challenges do you think there exist with spreading the science and educating legislators? You had mentioned that earlier, educating others about science. Like, why do you think we are having challenges in that area in the first place?
Yeah, it's a good question. Going back to what we were talking about earlier in our talk, was, behavior analysis is relatively a newer science compared to other sciences such as psychology. And, in talking to, let's just say, folks in the community, people in my own community, the misperception is, oh, isn't that like psychology? Are you analyzing my behavior? I have to watch what I do around you. You analyze what I'm saying and doing, so again, it goes back to that misunderstanding, the misperception. Also, I have found in speaking to people about behavior analysis just in general, oh, isn't that the science? You just treat people with a diagnosis of autism. And so those are the two main things that I see when I'm interacting with my community members, which honestly, I do love talking about behavior analysis with other behavior analysts. There's definitely amazing growth that happens there, a lot of learning that happens there, in our professional conferences, and, even our conversations right now. It's great, right? We all know this information. It's kind of like preaching to the choir in a sense. I still enjoy it. I receive a lot of appreciation for those conversations, but where I really feel like I'm making an impact is when I'm just speaking to people in my community, people who I have an audience, and I take advantage of it at every possible chance I can get, with just people in the community who possibly do not know about what the science is or have misperceptions, because that really gives me the opportunity to educate. So going back to those misperceptions, it's, also there's behavior analysis may not have such a great reputation, right? Based on some maybe not too great practices that people have experienced personally by being consumers of the science, right? People who were providing treatment in a way that's not following our, ethics and how they're supposed to be. And so there's this other, negative perception in a sense as well. So I always like to highlight, well, okay, yes, unfortunately that is the case, just as in any other profession, there is the case of abuse at times or misuse of the treatment. But here is the good that we're doing. Let's talk about that for a little while.
Yeah, and let's separate it. It's not the science that's doing the harm. In this case, it would be the scientist, and they might be well-intended. We are, as we all know, we are still a product of our own, even the scientists, of our own history and environment. Absolutely. So, but let's make sure we don't throw everything into this catch-all that it's that ABA is bad or behavior analysis is bad. Just like you mentioned, in any field, people might not be practicing. You have it in the medical field. You have it. Your mechanic screws stuff up. And that's also not. I don't want to demean the experience of those who had those bad experiences. Those are real experiences for those people.
Absolutely,
we feel very bad that they did have those experiences, but please don't think it's the science. That's I think the message we want to have out there.
Absolutely, yes, I agree, Paulie.
Definitely. So, Elizabeth, can you tell us what happens exactly on a World Behavior Analysis Day? What does the celebration involve?
So the celebration is an annual one. So every year we have a week-long celebration starting March 14th, extending to March 20th. And the reason why that week is important, as you both know, is that March 20th is the birth date of B.F. Skinner, who is the founder of contemporary behavior analysis. And so we celebrate his birthday at the end of our celebration week, but we take the whole week to engage in the dissemination of the science and also the celebration of the science.
Nice. So what are some of those, exciting, fun activities that we can expect perhaps to look forward to? Can we give maybe a preview of something like that? Some teasers?
Yeah, so this will be our third annual celebration, which is amazing. And it feels like just yesterday we were planning our first, right? And you guys have been. Yeah,
it is.
The third.
I've been thinking it's the second. That's right. It is the third, because we did the first video with PsychCorp and Ryan Saint and crew over there. Wow.
I know. It goes fast.
Oh my
Absolutely.
Gosh. Yes, it does.
Yeah. And, it seems every year, obviously we're shaping our behavior as we move through the years. We learn and what works, what doesn't work, what, the ways we celebrate for the past few years seems to work in the sense of, we usually have a theme each year. So we're continuing that this year. And the theme this year is behavior analysis in action, which is just a way for us to help share with the world what behavior analysts do on a daily basis. So as a behavior analyst, I'm an applied practitioner, and I apply the science of behavior analysis to working with the individuals that I treat, right? And so that can mean so many different things to me, delivering assessments, analyzing data, developing treatment plans, all of these sorts of things. So depending on where that behavior analyst works, which, as we know, is many settings, right? Organizations, school settings, the medical settings, health and wellness, all of these sorts of contexts that behavior analysts share that science. What does it look like to them? And so we are trying to get that message out through this theme of behavior analysis in action.
Yeah, I really love this. I mean, I've loved every year's theme. They just resonate with me so much. I don't know who on it, but I know the board comes up with this, and I'm on the board, but like, I wasn't the one. It's brilliant. These themes that have been like right on point, man. They are like really money. I was excited about last year's. It just made so much sense, together in one science.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was great one too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then behavior
Yeah.
analysis in action. This is lovely because
Mhm.
part of the thing that I think World Behavior Analysis Day does, not only do we have intra-field, let me see if I say this right, or is interfield dissemination, but we have intrafield dissemination. And that is, we're also helping to educate people within our own field, because our this is my personal opinion. I bet that you guys share it with me. In our prep coursework, there's so much focus on, like, say, the molecular level of the application of the science and the use of it special needs. And again, thank goodness that we have it for the special needs population. But when you talk about using the science in other places, like, I didn't know that you could use the science there. Yeah, this is the this is, we talk about it could be used with animals, of course, right? I'd like to say it's the science of human behavior because that's how I apply it, right? It's the science of human behavior. So wherever there are people behaving, that means you can help them, and you can help them to help themselves from the science. Or so I feel that that's some of what we have going on here, as well as that it's opening the eyes of the people within our own field. This is the freaking greatest science in the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
So, all
Yeah.
right. So now, as we know, people want to be involved, because they're loving it. People are just jumping on, like, freaking, it's so cool seeing people wearing shirts and, putting out
Yeah.
videos and doing their hashtag, and it's really giving people
Mhm.
such a sense of pride. And I know,
Mhm.
we all take a great sense of pride in seeing people have such a, sense of pride and puffing their chest out with, So what are some ways that interested organizations or people can help support the day? Like, or if somebody wants to
Mhm.
join in, what can they do?
Yeah, so it's so great that originally, if you both, I'm sure, recall, we only had that one day, right? So it was just March 20th. It was one day. We had that extended to the week, which has been incredible because not only do we have the celebration for one day, we have, the whole week in March to have different days to engage in different activities to share the science. And so I've been really impressed with some organizations get very creative, and it's so fun to see. We ask organizations who are celebrating to send us to World Behavior Analysis Day, how they're celebrating, what they're doing. Some even have been on their local media sharing about, what this is, which I think is tremendous and takes a lot of courage to do that. It's not an easy thing to do. Um, Other organizations, they offer special events such as workshops or CEUs, right? Maybe at a discounted price or free for their employees. Some create their own merchandise or do giveaways. They have contests for their staff. Um, Hosting WBAD celebration party, which is, another really fun thing. Posting on the social media with our hashtag, like you mentioned, Paulie, hashtag WBAD, or, with the year. So this year would be hashtag WBAD 23 or hashtag World Behavior Analysis Day. So there's a lot of fun things. And if there's anything else, I mean, like I said, we are so interested to hear other suggestions on how your organization is celebrating. So please share that with us.
Well, I want to say that, bring up the week, because I remember when it went from a day to a week, and I feel very proud of WBADA here, and that is really living in and practicing our stated values. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but that came about because there were people who were disappointed that that day was falling on some, say, religious day for them, and they couldn't celebrate it. So as a team, I think we got together and said, well, what can we do? Should we open this up and make it accessible to people? And that's just what happened. And it felt like, and thank goodness that happened, because so many more positive things, came as a result of us making sure that we were collaborating and we were engaging in togetherness with the people and just involving and hearing. So what a wonderful outcome that occurred there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because that really does speak to, what we hold as valuable, right? So we did have a couple of practitioners who reached out to us personally and said, hey, listen, I celebrate this, this holiday, this religious holiday on the, whatever specific day it was that we were celebrating. And it's preventing me from engaging in all these activities or partaking in some of these, discounted workshops or free CEs. So, would you be willing to change the day or extend the celebration time frame? And we came back as a board and we took that seriously. We met with those people. We heard what their concerns are and how this prevents them from celebrating and sharing in any activity. And so we made that decision to extend it to the week-long celebration. And like you said, Paulie, it was really the best decision that we could have made. It just gives us more opportunities to celebrate and to disseminate. And so it worked out in the end.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that it kind of just goes back to, I know, Elizabeth, that we have an amazing board of directors that just helps, just make everything happen. And it's like, it's just incredible how everyone's on top of all of our events, right? Everything that's going to be happening and the planning that goes into this. Can you tell us a little bit about the work and the committees that we have within WBAD?
Before she even jumps in, I just want to say that for anybody that hasn't been on a board, and I've never been on a board that was developed, there's a lot of amazing people in here that put in a lot of hard work. Just developing everything from the ground up. I'm like, wow. It's mind-boggling. But
lots of attention to detail.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So much work goes into this.
It really is, man. It's not like, well, we're going to have a day and that's it. It is something like, I don't know how you really gather the right people around you to do that.
It's the best of the best.
Yeah. And I'm not one of those with that particular piece of the puzzle. These guys have got so much knowledge about that piece. I don't look over
those forms either.
Well, I tell you, that is just so wonderful to hear. And you both, Janet and Paulie, are such an integral part of our organization. And I'm excited to talk more about, how you both contribute. This podcast alone is like amazing that you dedicate your time. This is all voluntary, and you both are so busy, and the fact that you give so much to the organization and for the mission it's just so incredible. And I can thank you all day long and it would never be enough. And that's just one subset of what you do. The videos that you produce are just like phenomenal and just so impressive.
I'm more in awe of the other people on the committee and the stuff that they've done and all that hard work. Because like, this is wonderful. It's like great.
Every
what I feel
area
like
covered.
You've done is that you've gathered a really, like, this is really great leadership. Okay. You've gathered a great group of people around you and found out what their niches are and their passion. You've allowed them to flourish in those areas. Because had I been on some of those things, I see Christine doing, or just like, I can't, just not my thing, not. So that's what seems to make it worse. That's really wonderful leadership on your part, and getting these people who are just really good people, good at what they do.
Yeah, I am so fortunate. And I tell you, you all, and Janet being the co-chair for the International Affairs Committee, we're going to get into that because that's something special. You both have taught me, all of the board members in our organization. I was never, I'd never applied the science into an OBM type of context, right? Never. So this is, even though behavior is behavior, right? And the application of the science is similar in a sense, right? You have to make some adjustments depending on where you're working. But I have never been in this role as president of an organization ever. And so I have learned so much from each one of the board members who have had that experience prior, right? I mean, a lot of our board members are, you know, they work in administration. They're, of course, behavior analysts, but they apply the science again to, you know, the context of where they work. They're in social media and marketing. I don't know anything about that. They're in finance and you know, budgeting. I don't know, aside from my own personal, you know, experience with budgeting and finance. But in an organizational construct, I've learned so much in such a short period of time, and I'm incredibly grateful to all of you for teaching
Well,
me every day.
and we'll make sure that of course, it's on the website, but we'll make sure that there's a link in the show notes of this so people can see who are on the board, because we really do have a diverse and international board with, you know, we have roots that are growing internationally everywhere, like deeper and deeper. So it's really very cool to watch.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we are international. Our board is, I mean, from you know, Africa, the regions of Africa to Japan, and then within the States, from California to New York and everywhere in between. We've been so fortunate to have this diverse culture within our organizational culture. And so that's been really special too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I know, Janet, you had asked me about the program committees. So do you want me to get into that a little bit?
We'd love that.
Real quickly.
I know that we have lots of different programs going on and different initiatives. So tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, so we do have a few various committees within the organization. We have the program committee, which focuses on the annual celebration, which is not just done strictly, you know, in the month of March. I mean, it is a year-long process. Once our March celebration ends, that's when our new year begins. And that's when all the planning starts again. And we are working year-round for our upcoming celebration always. And so the program committee is an intense committee, but it's a fun one. And we're fortunate for Colleen Williams, who unfortunately is transitioning off because she's cycling already through her term, which is crazy, that we're going through terms already. And we're going to miss her tremendously. She's been such a great asset to us.
She really has.
Oh, yeah. She really has. She's phenomenal. She gives us such a great layout and framework of everything and a timeline of when it needs to be done. She's just phenomenal.
And she kept on me about it, man. She was, you know, hey, you know, she made sure that I knew when the deadlines were coming up. You know, that's great leadership on her part, management.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The social media marketing committee, which is a great committee. And so obviously that manages all of our social media, our marketing matters. And Sarah Duart Hamilton is our chair for that committee. And again, she's cycling out because her term is up. And so we do have a few openings on the board for those committee, and also the student activities committee. I'm sorry, Jose Rios he is also cycling out. So we're going to miss him tremendously. He's currently the chairperson for the student activities committee. So we have 3 openings right now. So if anyone's interested, you could reach out at info@behavioranalysis.com for more information. I also have the budget and finance committee with Christy Evenko, is like superstar in just not only budget and finance, but just everything within our organization. She's the go-to person.
She seems wonderful. Like she knows a little bit about everything. Like, how'd she know that, man? She is like fantastic. I'm like,
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, got all the language and stuff, and like she is on that stuff. She's a lawyer in another life.
Yeah, she's great. She's such a great asset to us, and I've learned a lot from her. And so we're fortunate to have her. The International Affairs Committee. So Janet, who is a co-chair with Mariana de los Santos. I mean, this is just, to me, in my opinion, this is the backbone of our organization, right? This is what we're in it for, to disseminate the science, right? And so we are so fortunate. I know I don't know if you want me to get into the ambassador program now, since we're talking about it.
I think this is perfect.
Yeah, so the ambassador program is such an impressive one. And I tell you, I give you and Mariana a lot of credit for overseeing it, because there's a lot of details involved.
Yeah,
And so you all
it's
do
our
a wonderful job.
ambassadors. It is not us. I think that we honestly, Elizabeth, you have provided a platform, right? So our platform is so strong and solid in promoting that international inclusive celebration of behavior analysis, right? And that's our vision, to do that. And it just makes our jobs easier in the international affairs committee. I think that was an amazing project to begin, and it's growing. It keeps growing and growing, and it like you say, I think it's one of the most beautiful experiences that I think I've had within WBAD, being able to work alongside just phenomenal individuals across the globe that are really committed to promoting the science. And, these are many times like first responders in their countries, to introducing families, to introducing professionals, to introducing their communities to such a powerful science. And to be, able to work alongside these individuals is such a privilege. So the ambassador program has really just exploded within, I think, the last 6 months, in that we were able to get a little bit more of, I think, schedules, fit a little bit better. I think we'll talk about some of those challenges because we are so international. We can't always meet, right? At the best times, but it really has been an opportunity for us to live out those values with working with individuals across the globe, and just collaborating, making sure that we are promoting that togetherness, that multiculturalism that comes within learning from one another. So yeah, I'm not sure, you have more to add, I'm sure, Elizabeth, but we couldn't be happier to be able to, to be part of such a program.
Well, I'm so glad that you and Mariana take the lead in that committee, because it's a very special committee to me for all the reasons you mentioned, and I'm so impressed with the growth of it. I mean, currently we have 25 ambassadors that represent globally. All of our ambassadors, there will be updated information on our website with the ambassador pictures and their names and the regions they represent, and it's just growing. And a few of their roles, because there are some responsibilities that come along with being the ambassadors. They share information about behavior analysis, of course, in their region. They help us develop resources, like, so for example, translating maybe logos, that, the World Behavior Analysis Day logo, or the theme, the annual theme logo, to share with the individuals in their region. Assisting in the celebratory events, which is right now. Actually, last night I met with Sakirako, who is our one of our board members, who is from Japan, and we had a meeting last night with her team. So we have various team leaders that work with various ambassadors in similar time zones. So that's speaking to what you were saying as far as scheduling, how we came up with the best way to streamline meeting with everybody in different time zones. And so I was, 3 a.m. It was 3 a.m. New York time, 5 p.m. In Japan. And it was just such a special experience. We met with the ambassador representing Malaysia, the ambassador representing Australia, UAE, there was another, I said Malaysia, and Japan, of course, and Israel. And so it was just such a great great conversation. They're so motivated. They want to know, what can we do? You know, what resources can we have? We'll, create the merchandise. We'll get the shirts printed. They're very, very eager to, share in our mission.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful for all of them. And we do have logo translations. So currently have 24 logo translations when we're building on that. And so we're looking for more ambassadors. So anybody who's interested, please get in touch with us. We'd love to talk to you.
And just very briefly, what would be the qualifications for a potential ambassador?
So what we're looking for, if I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I was just gonna. Is that
no?
Okay?
I was gonna pass it to you. So,
okay.
Yeah, this is your committee. Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that this person again is interested in working alongside with our organization, that they have access to technology. So for example, Zoom, because that's primarily how we're able to kind of meet, right, and discuss everything that's going on. Interested, of course, in disseminating behavior analysis in their country and their language, that they're able to have the time, right, and the opportunity to respond, to these emails and calls for assistance, online meetings, right. I think we also have a completion of at least 12 hours of graduate training specifically in behavior analysis. That's going to be a highly preferred item, and definitely. A statement just indicating that they're interested, right, in supporting the organization and making sure that again that they're committed to working alongside the group, right, and there are some benefits that come with being an ambassador. Of course, as Elizabeth shared, we have our beautiful picture of our ambassadors that we often share, and we're definitely providing an opportunity to network professionally and develop their skills in nonprofit work and that development, right? And lastly, being part of a multinational organization that is really focused on the dissemination of behavior analysis, which is huge for us. And I think that listening to everyone share their work in their respective countries is so inspiring. And so we highly encourage everyone to do that. And in all of our meetings, it's something that we really want to push forward, that we don't want this to be something that is, an additional, item, of work for our ambassadors. We want them to really just share the good work that they're already doing and highlight that. And we want to, again, encourage that collaboration and that multiculturalism, right? And the dissemination of the science in a platform that is specifically devoted to that. So what other place can do that? I think other than WBADA. So
it's so very cool. It's so exciting to hear about that. And they can also wear it's like being Superwoman or Superman with the WBAD under your shirt, you know what I mean? Like representing the science. And this is the science of making a positive difference for people. Yeah. So Elizabeth, how would you describe WBADA's interaction with other organizations or universities or the board or whatever?
Yeah, so we are making headway with outreach to various organizations, educational institutions. We would love to collaborate. And just backtracking a little bit, I wanted to mention really quickly one committee that I think I overlooked as far as mentioning is our development committee, which is led by Karen Chardier, and she's phenomenal. She's from Canada, and her goal is for the committee is to establish sponsorship, partnership, collaborations with organizations or really anyone who's interested in doing so that shares in our values and our mission. And so I'm really excited to share. We have our first partnership that's been made official with ABAI's Dissemination for Behavior Analysis Special Interest Group. And so that's very exciting. That's a brand new collaboration, and we're still working out the framework of what that's going to look like moving forward. And we're looking to increase these sponsorships and these partnerships as we go. So that's something really exciting that we have to look forward to.
That is. Well, I think that what she's doing right now flowed perfectly into that, because that's part of the roles of, of us working with the universities and the BACB or whoever, is that we're trying to, get them to also spread the good word about the science of human behavior. I mean, it only benefits everybody involved. If you love the science, then you want to see everybody want to embrace it, and that means that more people want to go to the universities for it. More people are going to get certified for it, et cetera, et cetera. It just is. It's just a really what WBADA is doing is a win-win for everybody in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking to the university level, testament to your amazing work with the videos you've created, Paulie. And maybe you can remind me of the university that had asked for permission to share those videos with the students to educate them on behavior analysis.
Well, we've actually had a few. So there's been FIU, and thanks to Adam Ventura for that. Mary Baldwin University, Endicott, we've got to share for those. I mean, if we have any people right now listening to this and you believe in the science and you want to disseminate, you don't have to be in any particular position. You can just do it. What you could push share on on Facebook if you see a video, because we do have these things out. This is part of the dissemination. There's different ways to disseminate. For me, because I'm at a couple of universities, I just make an announcement. I have it in my bio, right? Hey, here's a link to World Behavior Analysis Day. You love the science. Check this out, and if you have a chance and you want to, please give it a share, help us spread the science, because it's good for everybody. So I feel that, one day, I think, as we begin to get more and more embraced by these different larger organizations, which we are, they will take it upon themselves to share it with their own people. And then it just really is going to have like this cascading effect. And it's going to be, it's really going to accelerate people learning more and embracing just the greatest science in the world. So, the future is bright for the science. And I feel
yes, I agree. I share in your vision, Paulie. That is my vision as well. Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted to quickly mention also the BACB has been instrumental. They actually, from the very beginning, I met with Dr. Carr and Dr. Noziak about this project before it was even something. It was an idea at the time, and they loved the idea. And the BACB funded the application process, because we do have an official proclamation. It's just a permanent product, basically, just representing the day. But there was an application process. There was a fee involved. And so the BACB supported that.
Oh,
and they also designed, yeah,
that's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. And they designed our logo. And so they've been very supportive. And so I thank them tremendously to this day. They're just wonderful.
Well, we might one day, we're going to have to take a journey back in time and have them on the podcast to talk about that very important moment when, this day was birthed.
Yes, that's a great idea. I love that idea.
Okay, wonderful. So you've been an active organization now, Elizabeth, 3 years, right? We're hitting our 3rd year mark right? And so you shared a little bit about some of those challenges and in regards to dissemination, right? And legislation, things of that nature. But what would you say were maybe some of those, big ahas or key takeaways, those learning experiences or that you had so far with WBADA?
Yeah, I think I touched a little bit about some of my aha moments in a sense, and really what stands out to me, and I mentioned it, was that learning curve of applying the science to an organizational setting, right? So being a leader in an organization was foreign to me. It still is, you know, in many aspects of the word. I'm learning continually every day. And the fact that as I said, am surrounded by people who are so willing to teach and are patient is really an amazing experience for me, and I am very appreciative for that. So that's one big aha moment, and I carry that into my personal life because I'm also, as you both know, I'm very involved in my son's school district. I'm the VP for the PTA in his district, and taking some of the principles that I've learned just working on our board with people on you know, in our organization that have been all wonderful. I apply those experiences to my other boards that I'm a part of, and it's just been such a great experience, and I'm so appreciative for it. Also the ambassadors, going back to that really quickly, learning every day about the barriers that are presented to them in many aspects of the word, of educating, and even right to technology, having access to technology is a barrier. Things that, you know, we take for granted here in the States, right? We have so many privileges and things afforded to us that we don't even consider a lot of. Wow, I never even fathom that would be something preventing you from sharing this information. And so they're teaching me a tremendous amount of information, and the cultural aspect in that is something I'm incredibly grateful for.
Well, you were armed with, you can't go wrong, Elizabeth. You're such, because I've gotten to know you over the years, you're just such a value person. So I look at you like, have values, got science, will travel. You know what I mean? You're like, you're learning and applying the science and looking at things through a scientific lens here. And like, but you're just such a valued person that you're not going to go wrong. And you haven't go wrong. Of course, everybody stumbles. The science doesn't give us all the answers, but it helps us to find the best ones, right? I always say I'm not confident in myself, but I am confident in the science. So you're doing just a fine job. I don't think I'm not a bored type of guy.
Oh, gosh,
I wouldn't be on this if you weren't.
I don't know how you do it, Elizabeth.
Leading in the way that you do. So I'm grateful in the way that you approach this, and I think everybody is. You're doing an amazing job again with it, and I'm grateful. So
that means a lot. Thank you, Paulie.
Oh, I mean it. So we only have a few minutes here. Let's just a couple more questions. What would you like to see kind of materialize out of the next couple of years? Like, what are the big goals and dreams? If we wave that magic wand, you know, in 5 years from now, and then 10 years from now, where would you see that we've gone with World Behavior Analysis Day?
Yeah. So Colleen Williams, our program, she's the chair for our program committee, has developed this really beautiful visual of the map that represents our scope of reach. Yeah, it's just so impressive, right? Any visual is it just makes the story come alive. And so it really does when we see that visual of where this is why we ask for people to share with us where and how they're celebrating, right? So we can pinpoint that on the map. This region is celebrating, this region is celebrating, because we each year update that. And it's just it's amazing to see that progress is very reinforcing, to see that us expanding our scope of reach. And so my goal is to hopefully see that full map blue, right? Where indicating that they're celebrating behavior analysis. And so that would be my overarching goal, is to see that happen. Increasing our partnership with other organizations, higher end institutions. I would love to see that flourish. And just educating the masses, you know, I mean, my goal again is hopefully one day when just someone in the community is asked, hey, do you know about this science? They say, oh yeah, this is what it is. And they're correct in their description. Right. And so that's a goal of mine. I know that's a hefty goal, and that probably will be a lifelong goal of mine, but I'm committed to trying to make the efforts to see that happen. I do what I can. I present at my son's school. I presented to the superintendent and the chair for the course curriculum in my son's school district about behavior analysis and how that would look and be helpful to students in the district. Also actually presenting on March 13th to our school district about World Behavior Analysis Day and what
So
behavior
cool.
analysis is. And so, doing little things like that, in my opinion, just chip away at my bigger picture. Just on a personal note, that's what I'm doing aside from attending professional conferences and,
I
representing
love
in
that.
those contexts as well.
One
Yeah.
day I hope that it's like I look at the science almost like you ever hear the hero's journey, because
Mm,
we're kind of in the
Mm.
business here of dissemination of storytelling, right? And telling the
Yeah,
story of it, and there's this journey
sure.
that's still on, as you mentioned, the science is still relatively young, but there's also, as a result of it, if we zoom in, there's a number of hero stories going on right now, people that are in behavior analysis and just helping so many people, doing so many great things through the science. So I hope that one day we're going to be able, and I think that we are, as like more funding comes in, and that as you're out at that school, it'd be wonderful to like have you on video and
Mhm.
show what's going on, right? And just
hmm
start to, I look at it as like just shining a bigger and brighter light progressively on all the amazing things that are going on in the world with the science. And I think, as we do that, just more people are going to, want it, understand it more, maybe,
hmm
we break down those barriers for those who don't understand it or think illy about it, but also we learn from them, we can like
hmm
reflect on ourselves. They say, hey, that sounds good, but
Absolutely.
this, all right, well,
Yeah.
as
hmm
we're disseminating, we can help other people in our own field learn better and know better. So
Absolutely.
I think it's the future is bright for the science.
I
Most
agree.
definitely.
Very well said.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, I think that we really do want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day because we know how incredibly busy you are to join us today and share a little bit more about the story behind World Behavior Analysis Day Alliance, the story behind World Behavior Analysis Day, right? Just reminding everybody that the organization was again developed to facilitate that annual international celebration of the science of behavior analysis, which again is March 14th through the 20th. So we have an
hmm
entire week, right? So it
Yeah.
culminates on the birthday of Fred Skinner.
hmm
And so we're excited for what's coming up. We're excited for all those activities that we're going to be a part of. And we just want to remind everyone again that it is about facilitating that international celebration, and that WeBAD really is, as you mentioned, a hub to promote that global inclusive celebration, to increase that awareness, that acceptance, and ultimately that implementation of the science, which was what your inspiration was, right? Wanting to
hmm
share that with others, and it's continuing to grow.
Now, our just for anybody that wants more information about us, is it Behavior Day or behavioranalysisday.com?
Behavioranalysisday.com.
Yeah. So we have behavioranalysisday.com. We'll leave this stuff in the show link. Yeah, make sure you
Yes.
check us out there. We
Mhm.
have a YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to the World Behavior Analysis Day YouTube channel. We have a Instagram. I think it's Behavior Day on Instagram. We also have a YouTube. So make sure you you subscribe, you connect, and that way you can
Share.
yeah, and you share, of course, right? We
Yeah.
put content out, help us to spread the word. If you love the science, then join with us in spreading just this greatest science that's going to make a positive difference everywhere. So Elizabeth, thanks so much for joining us. And by the way, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anyone wishing to get in touch with me can email me at president@behavioranalysisday.com.
All right. Good to see you,
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you
Great
both
speaking
so
with
much for
you.
having me. I'm very, very excited to celebrate with everybody our upcoming World Behavior Analysis Day, and happy World Behavior Analysis Day.